Hi, welcome to Mat140. In this lesson 8.5, we're going to discuss amortized loans. And this is probably going to be the toughest section that we have. We're going to just do amortization of loans. We're not going to do a lot of other stuff in here, just that one thing. So right now we've had a problem. A equals, and we're going to use the formula, kind of the formula we've been using, but it becomes just a little bit more intense. A equals R times, and then we had a bracket here, remember, and 1 plus, write the one down, R over M raised to the n power minus 1. And that whole thing was over R to the M. And we used this last time. Well, what we're going to do is a little modification on this, because that was the amount that the bank was given. But now we're on this side of the equation, we're going to kind of change it a little bit. We're going to call this P, the principal. And we're going to put a little bit more to it. This is going to be 1 plus R over M to the N. So we're adding to this formula that we already had. And this will help us to amortize a loan. And you're going, this is ridiculous. Well, I agree with you, but that's what we're going to do. So we'll give it a shot and see what we can do with this and see what we can come up with. All right. So let's see what we can do. Let's try this first example. This example says you've taken out an amortized loan of $10,000. Let me write the information down here on a piece of paper. Got this loan for $10,000. You're buying a new car. Your credit must not be too good because your interest rate is 18%. You definitely want a lower rate than that. And you agree to pay off this loan in 4 years. Obviously, you're going to take monthly payments. So it wants us to calculate your monthly payment. So how are we going to do this? Let's take a look and see if we can figure this whole mess out. Well, let's first of all, let's figure out this R over M junk. Remember how we do that? That's going to be your interest rate, which is 18%. So we're going to change that to 0.18 and then divide that by 12 monthly payments. So 0.18 is 0.18 divided by 12, 0.015. That's what we're going to use for R over M. Okay, the other thing we want to figure out is what N is. N is equal to the number of years, 4 times the monthly payments, times 12. So that's 48. So that's what we're going to use for N. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So now let's put in our information. Maybe we've got 10,000. 1 plus, and what are we trying to find out on this, by the way? We're trying to find out what your monthly payment is going to be. We're looking for this R, monthly payment. That's what we're trying to find out, how much you're going to pay for this car each month. Now, of course, we used kind of an approximation of this last time, but this is a more exact answer. So this is 1 plus, Of course, this is set up in a computer where the guy is going to put this in by hand every time. But they want you to get used to seeing this. So this is 0.18 divided by 12, so we're going to put 0.015. And the number of times it's done is 48. So let's just go ahead and calculate this part so we don't get all bogged down with the next part. So we can just put this into the calculator just the way it's written. 10,000 parentheses. Let's see if I can put this where you can see it a little bit better. It's pretty good. Now I can't see my problem. I got to scoot it over a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's pretty good right there, huh? 10,000 times 1 plus 0.015 parentheses raised to, don't forget your raised to key, 48. Bing, equals, big old number here, huh? Let's write it down. 20,434.78. We'll just take it to the nearest cents. Okay, so we calculated that side of the payment. Now let's do the other side. Let's put our R here. This is what we were doing last time, so this shouldn't be too much. Hopefully you were able to do this okay. So this was parentheses 1 plus 0.015 raised to the 48 minus 1 over 0.015. Remember how we did it last time? So let's calculate that out. But this is R, and let's calculate here. Parentheses, pretty much the same as that, huh? 1.015 parentheses raised to the 48. And that would be 1 plus that. Minus 1 equals, I should have done it. Okay, parentheses. It doesn't like me. 1 plus 0.015 parentheses raised to the 48 minus 1 equals. Remember we did that? And then we divided that by 0.015 equals. Now, it depends how much accuracy we want. I'm just going to round this off to the nearest penny. It'd come out pretty good. So I'm going to round this off. I wanted to double check with the book. That's what they had come up with. 69.57 we're going to put. It's not going to be quite as accurate as the book, but it's pretty close. 2 decimal places. So now we're going to divide that off because it's R and this number on the same side. So one of them's got to go. So it's the number. And this should tell you your monthly payment. See, it wasn't so hard. You see, for me to say, okay, clear it. $20,434.78 divided by 69.57. 293.73, and that should be your payment. And according to the book, they came up with 75 cents. So we were off 2 pennies. It's pretty accurate. I mean, if you were off $10 or something, it would be very accurate. But 2 cents, not too bad. And if we carried out more places, obviously it would come out more exact. But this is pretty good just where we counted. Just in the nearest penny. It should work. So that's the first part of our thing. We're going to do an amortization of this alone. Let's try amortization of this loan. So let me show you how to amortize this loan. I'm going to make this table. Okay. It's going to be the time, payment a month, the payment number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How much we're making for our monthly payment, which is going to be this amount right here each month. And then how much is the interest that we're going to pay on this each month. And then this is the money that goes towards your principal. And this will be your principal balance. That's your balance of your principal. So we should write principal. Okay. So this is how we're going to make an amortization. And then this will tell you how much what your balance is left over each month. How much is left on this payment. So we're going to try to figure that out each month. So the first thing we're going to do, got this table, is we're going to fill in the same amount. You're making the same payment each month, $293.73. You can put the dollar sign if you want. $293.73. It's going to be the same amount each month. What's going to vary each month is your interest. Your interest is going to change. And then we'll see how much is paid on the principal and so on. The principal on this is how much you borrowed for the car. So, and let's say that you borrowed for the car, let's see, was so I'm wondering on this problem, if we would put the $10,000 down. Let's just go ahead and put that down. You're trying to pay off this amount, $10,000. So, first month interest. To calculate the first month's interest, principal times rate times time equals interest. We just do a simple one. Principal is $10,000 times rate. The rate of interest was, and we're going to use the simple rate, then we're going to use this number right here, 0.015. That's your monthly rate. The rate that we figured out, this is R over M. Okay, times time. Time is always going to be just for 1 month, so we don't have to do much there. So let's multiply these together and see what we get. 10,000 times 0.015 is $150. I think you probably wanted to put something else there, but we'll just do it this way, simple enough. So that's the amount of interest you paid. And so your balance, how much do you owe on the payment? You're going to subtract those two amounts, $293.73, take away $150. I'm going to do it upside down, minus 293.73, just to save time. But you could put this in first, and then the 150 comes out to 143.73. So if I subtract that from the 10,000, now I'm going to take this amount, and I'm going to write it right down here. I'm going to subtract that from the 10,000. This is how much you owe. Again, you can write this down and put minus that. That's what it's going to come out to be. So if you were to trade in the car, you still owe that amount of money. Okay, now we're going to do the next month. Okay, but the interest is going to change. The interest is based on the principal, the new principal, 0.27 times 0.015. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the new principal times 0.015. So that The interest is going to go down. It's not going to be, well, let's see what happens. 9856.27 times 0.015. $147. So we want to take away this time, not 150 each time, but this number changes all the time, round to the nearest penny. So our new balance is going to be those two things. We're going to subtract them, you know, we're going to put this in and then subtract it. So when you do that, don't ignore that negative sign. This is what your balance is going to be, 145 point, I'm going to round this up, 8886. Okay, so that's how much is being paid off on this new thing. Notice not you're paying a little bit more. So now we're going to take the 9856, which we should have written this down. This is, well, we have it right here. That was your starting balance right there. So we're going to take away 145.86 from this, and this would tell us what our new balance is going to be. That's why I like to make these boxes a little bit bigger. So now you owe $9,710.38. So now we're going to do this again. We're going to use this as our new balance. So each time you come up with this end number, you're going to multiply that by 0.015. I should have probably been writing those down, but I've been putting them in the box. So times. Okay, so it came out to be about 145.66. So that's what we're going to subtract here. You know, and you might be off a few cents or something like that. We're not going to be, you know, terribly critical of you. So let's see what happens here. I could do it wrong. Am I doing that? Okay. So when I subtract these, I came up with 148.07. So now what I'm going to do is take this amount that I just figured out and subtract it. From this amount, 9710.38 minus the 148 should give us, if I did it right, 9562.31, we'll see. So this is how much you still owe on the car after making these payments of almost $300 a month. You still owe about $9,562.31. So this kind of work you have to kind of do on scratch paper. I guess I could have written it down here. Maybe let's jot it down here to show you how we got these numbers. This was 10,000 times 0.015. And that's how I came up with this number. Then I had 98. I had this balance, 0.27 times 0.015. When I did that, that's how I came up with this number. And then I had 9710.38 times 0.015. See? Then when I subtracted it, and that, I took this figure, and then I subtracted those, and that's what they equaled. And then I took this and subtracted it, and this gave the new balance. Then I took this amount and subtracted it and gave the new balance. Then I took this amount and subtracted it and gave the new balance. So your balance keeps changing as your interest changes. At the beginning, you're paying a lot of interest, but gradually your interest gets smaller and smaller. So when the loan's almost paid off, you really owe hardly anything in interest. All your money is going towards the card. But at first, you're not knocking down the card very much. So I hope this helps a little bit. I'm just going to do the one and go over it again. See if it's going to be a tough one. It's like the ultimate challenge. Remember how we figured out the loan? The payment? And we put the payment in here, took that number and moved it into here. And then that holds constant. Okay. Whoa, I kind of messed up here.